Thank you, David, for that kind introduction. I want to tell you about technology that we licensed from the Brigham and Women's Hospital for navigating in soft tissue and resecting tumors. One of the things, first indication of use that we're approaching is on lung cancer. I think many of you might realize that in lung cancer, we're probably about 20 to 30 years behind in early diagnosis. And the really key here is to approach patients for a cure in a very, very early stage, where many other therapeutic companies are focusing on later stage lung cancers. Our real focus is on a very early stage to do a resection at the stage 1 or 2. There are a number of studies that have been done recently. I think there's one released last week out of Europe that showed a 24% reduction in mortality for early stage screening. The primary method of dealing with these early stage patients is through a major resection, primarily doing a lobectomy or a segmentectomy. But we believe that smaller operations can also lead to a cure, and that's with a wedge resection, by targeted navigating to the tissue and removing it in a minimally invasive manner. One of the things I was surprised when I saw my first resection, lung resection, was that once you collapse the lung down, navigating in that region in the chest cavity is actually quite difficult, even for the most experienced of clinicians. And the whole concept, if you see in this image here, the CT scan is on a peripheral, with the arrow marking a peripheral lesion of less than 2 centimeters that you can't feel at all intraoperatively. So what we do at Navigation Sciences, we first set up in the pre-planning. We take the CT image and create a 3D model of the location of the lesion itself, and then also map out the thoracic area that you would want to resect, as well as provide a safe margin for that tumor. Intraoperatively, because we can track our active fiducial marker that we place in close to the lesion, and we can place that either with an 18-gauge needle or through a bronchoscope, but it's all done intraoperatively at the time of the surgery. We can actually track the placement with overlays of the 3D model and images that we created before the procedure, verify location with a fluoroscopic image, and then intraoperatively be able to actually see the distance on the thoracoscope, see the distance from the actual lesion itself to the cut line while we're removing that wedge resection. This is a video of a cadaver study done, placement, now the lung's already been collapsed, but where typically it would be fully expanded. The 18-gauge needle places our active fiducial marker into the actual lung tissue itself, and then we remove the needle, as you see in this image, once it's been placed. That's like it's like a fish hook, so it locks into the soft tissue. Once it's been removed, we also have a coil that we place on the stapling device or other surgical resection type instrument. And in a moment, you'll see in the video that the actual tracking of the distance between the fiducial marker is shown on the video screen while they're doing the actual resection itself. With our software program, we would also show this overlaid on the 3D model of the CT image that the surgeon can track at the time of surgery. Here you're seeing the stapler come in again with the measurement tool, showing the distances. We've learned a significant amount, both from our animal studies as well as our cadaver studies, at how the elasticity of the lung and actually obtaining what the appropriate distances would be for a safe wedge resection with a clear margin. There you see where the actual marker had been placed within the tissue itself, and that's resected at the time of surgery. So we've done a lot with a significant small amount of capital. A lot of work was done prior to our license at the Brigham on non-dilutive funding and R01 grants that also continue on today. We put together the company, our seed round's a $2 million round, of which we've raised already $1.3 million of the round itself. So we're here looking for an additional $700,000, but also into an A round of about $5 million that takes us through the 510K and a post-market clinical study. We've already had a pre-IDE meeting with the FDA for a clinical study for 25 patients. This is a continuation of also a study that was done and published on the first 25 patients using a fiducial marker to track the wedge resection. And all patients showed clear margins post-operatively with our clinician. We anticipate that we'll start this clinical study in the latter half of this year. Now, the market size for lung cancer has been growing right now roughly at about 8% a year with the increase in the number of early stage diagnosis. We see that number increasing significantly, and I think many of you have observed that, particularly with prostate cancer as PSA started to come in favor, a significant increased number in the diagnosis. And hopefully these are early diagnoses that have an opportunity or application to be able to have a wedge resection using our technology. But other areas where we've had extreme interest is for resection of liver tumors, breast cancer, thyroid. So we see an opportunity here for navigating in soft tissue in a number of marketplaces. This is a Class II device. There are a significant number of predicates for navigation in both in orthopedics as well as in bronchial with Superdimension, Ion from Intuitive, and the Monarch system that we'll be using as our current predicate for the 510K. From a reimbursement standpoint, the clinician has additional codes that they can bill for the placement of the fiducial marker. So there are additional payments for that. But the actual surgery falls under the existing DRGs for VAT procedures, which is very, very well reimbursed and profitable for the hospitals that do this type of procedure. We have 2 patents and 3 additional provisionals that we'll be converting soon, all based on 7 exclusive features, both the interface of the fiducial marker, the overlay in 3D mapping, and the software navigation for the deformation algorithms as the soft tissue moves to track. From a go-to-market strategy, we have a console or control system that we will price that's similar to other sorts of navigation systems that are currently in the market at about $110,000 to $120,000 for the actual console itself. But we have a procedure consumable, either for the bronchoscopic delivery of the fiducial marker or from the 18-gauge needle, roughly at about $2,300 of the consumables per procedure itself. We anticipate that we'll start a post-market clinical study after our 510K in 2022, and then on to full distribution in 2023 following our B round. The revenue, you see here, a typical hockey stick, but we anticipate the addition of other markets, including liver and thyroid, in 2024, and significant growth OUS. Our financial model shows a significant margin, and I don't think we need to necessarily go into the details, but I'm really happy to review our model with those who may be interested in how our plan goes both from an engineering development standpoint as well as on the revenue side. There are, when I first looked at this, I was thinking from a strategic partnership standpoint that your real focus is on the surgical stapler market. However, as I've gotten more and more involved, we've had significant interest both from robotic to imaging companies as well as the minimally invasive surgical companies that are currently in market. So there's a significant interest, I believe, in this navigation systems, and particularly if we follow on the heels of the navigation systems that are in acquiring companies that have been involved in the orthopedic space, we see a great excitement in the soft tissue resection navigation marketplace. This is currently right now primarily a virtual company. I run this day to day. My partners are Rafael Bueno, the Chief of Thoracic Surgery at the Brigham and Women's Hospital. He runs a very, very large department there, as well as one of the researchers in the radiology department that did all the algorithms and software development program for this. Our independent director is Giacomo Bassadona. He's a liver surgeon who's founded and exited from multiple companies to date. And I have a virtual CFO as well. So in review, we believe we have a clear unmet need in the soft tissue navigation space, virtual team leadership, sizable market opportunity of at least $900 to $1 billion, and a regulatory path that will lead to first a IDE with 25 patients by the end of the year. So with that, I think my time is up, and I thank you very much. I'll be in the breakout room down the hall.